This is a LevinTV special program. About 2 years ago, it became evident to me, and I shared it with you, that the Trump campaign and the Trump presidency were under attack by our own government, by leaders of the Obama administration, by the Hillary Clinton campaign, and by the media. That there were activities taking place that we've never seen before in this country. That a sitting government of one party was spying on the candidate of another party for the purpose of defeating that candidate and then defeating his presidency. Now, how did we know this? Well, we knew it because the media told us if we had only listened and pieced together their articles and their broadcasts, which is exactly what we did. And when I did that a little over 2 years ago, I was accused of all kinds of weird things, of being an extremist, of being a conspiracy theorist, and yet it took off. And I knew the reaction of the media told me, well, I think I hit a nail on the head because they were way too defensive, especially CNN, the Washington Post, the Associated Press, and ABC, all of which, and all of whom were involved. I looked at New York Times headlines and stories. We looked at McClatchy. We looked at other newspapers and other media outlets. And they told us the broad parameters of what would become a silent coup. And so we stayed on this really week after week, and every 4 to 6 weeks I reported back to you on what I saw and what I thought. Early on, we had almost no support from conservatives in broadcasting, whether TV or radio. Almost no support from conservatives on the internet or who write. And we fought off the attacks by the media, and they were abusive. Pretty much on our own. But I knew I was right because of my experience as a former chief of staff to an attorney general. And I suspected these leaks were coming out of the FBI. And of course, we since learned that they were. From Comey, from McCabe, from Baker, from Strzok, and from others. And the Department of Justice. And of course, the intelligence agencies. We had a very, very peculiar situation where we had former chiefs of various intelligence agencies on television pushing the collusion story, pushing it very, very hard, trashing the President of the United States. One of them called him treasonous. The President was called a spy, a sellout to Putin, selling out the American people. And we had a right, to get to the bottom of this. It was all quite tawdry, really quite awful. And we need to get to the bottom of this. This needs to be the next phase of this incredible national disaster where these people, the Democrat Party and the media dragged us through the dirt, dragged our country through the dirt, and dragged our president and his family through the dirt because they're still at it. They don't have any intention of stepping back. They tried to use our criminal justice system in a political way to take out a sitting president of the United States. And now they want to abuse the power of the Constitution and the impeachment clause to try it another way. And so this program lays the foundation for the fight ahead, because there is a fight ahead. The last 2 years, the abuse of power by the Obama administration, the absolute propaganda by the mass media in this country. I hope you like it.
This is where freedom rings.
If you believe in America, if you believe in the Constitution empowers us. It's a new day. America's back. America's back, and America's going to get strong again. We're going to defend America, and we're going to defend our interests.
Liberty's voice, Levin TV.
White House officials say that the president's sources were various conservative outlets, most prominently perhaps radio host Mark Levin, who seemed to take 3 basic chunks of information and combine them into one conspiracy theory of what he calls a silent coup.
And on the conservative Breitbart website, which Friday highlighted a conspiracy-loving radio talk show host, Mark Levin.
Now, the story asserted that Obama has been trying to undermine Trump at every turn. As you can see from the headline, it was inspired by a Thursday night radio segment by conservative talk show host Mark Levin.
Apparently, this idea came from right-wing radio host and unlicensed gynecologist Mark Levin, who ranted about these wiretaps on his radio show. That show was then written up by Breitbart as Mark Levin to Congress investigate Obama's silent coup versus Trump.
What does the White House gain? by the president of by Steve Bannon, most likely handing the president of the United States a Breitbart article and talking about what a rabid right-wing talk show host has been theorizing.
Start with firebrand conservative radio host Mark Levin. Briefly, for people who don't know, who is he?
He's got quite a following, and he's not just a conservative figure, but often espousing relatively radical positions about the need to reinvent the Constitution and government and ways in which we think about society.
The notion that Mark Levin is a news outlet, it's not the New York Times, it's not the Washington Post, it's not the Wall Street Journal, it's not the LA Times, it's not a major news network. It's Mark Levin, a guy who, I know what talk radio guys do, on left and right, mostly on right. They rile people up with outrageous charges, and nobody keeps count of them. But here's the President of the United States getting his information from these people.
Evidence for suggesting President Obama has committed a crime seems pretty thin.
The detailed speculation from a conspiracy-loving talk show host, Mark Levin.
Okay. I think we can now officially declare that Trump has a worse media diet than the son of Sam Killer. And he got all his news from a talking dog who told him to murder.
Since my radio appearance on Thursday, and since my appearance on Fox and Friends Sunday, yesterday morning, I'm getting all kinds of comments, both attacking me and just generally, that there's absolutely no proof. There's no proof that the Obama administration investigated the Trump campaign, the Trump associates, the Trump transition, or Trump. So for this last 6 months, this is nothing but a lie. Oh, wait a minute, you say, Mark. They're just denying that they wiretapped Trump's phone. Well, I never said they wiretapped Trump's phone. I don't know what they did. I based everything on published reports by reputable media outlets, none of which are quote-unquote right-wing. And yet I'm called a conspiracy theorist. Now the enemies in the media who I despise, the Joe Scarboroughs, the Brian Rosses, the frauds, well, we'll deal with them later too. And by the way, CNN, you're demonstrating for the whole world to see why you're a wasted carbon footprint. That's exactly what you are. Now, let's start with a couple of headlines, shall we? January 20, this year, Inauguration Day. Above the fold on A1, just in time for the president's inauguration, the incoming president's inauguration. Wait a minute. What is this? What is this? What does that say? What does that say? Wiretapped data used in inquiry of Trump aides. Well, that doesn't mean Obama specifically ordered it, Mark. I never said he specifically ordered it. In fact, the New York Times went a lot further than I've ever gone. I never said there's specific wiretaps or what exactly is being wiretapped. I talked about spying, eavesdropping, espionage, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act and court. Surveillance, that's what it's about. Espionage, that's what it's about. I didn't make it up. I didn't make up any of these stories. I put them together. And now the media is attacking me, and they don't even realize they're attacking themselves because all they wanted you to pay attention to was the shiny objects. Wow, they have a FISA court. Wow, they got a warrant. Wow, they're under investigation. Wow, now we have leaks. Wow. So, wait a minute. This means that a sitting administration is spying to some extent. We don't know the extent of it, on a presidential campaign of an opposition party, or some of their surrogates, or something, maybe the server. I didn't make this up. The media put it out there. Wiretap data used in inquiry of Trump aides. Wiretaps? Can the New York Times prove that? What wiretaps are they talking about? Well, let me tell you what happened. Shortly thereafter, they pulled that headline on their online version. And they talked about intercepts. And you know what? I don't really care. None of it matters. I'm here to demonstrate to you what the media have done. I'm here to demonstrate to you that if the media reports have been accurate, that we have a serious problem with police state tactics. That's right. And so the media can try to attack me all at once. Let's go to the second New York Times headline. This one is today. Oh, what's that one say? Let's look here. My goodness. Conspiracy theories journey from talk radio to Oval Office. They must mean me. What conspiracy theory? A goodly number of the reports I cited on my radio show Thursday and on Fox and Friends yesterday was from these knuckleheads, these fools who did the best they could to cover up the Holocaust. Remember them? Oh yes, the New York Times, which I've dubbed correctly the New York Slimes. I never said there were wiretaps. They said there were wiretaps. I never promoted a conspiracy. I simply put together what the news outlets had said. Now they're running from themselves. What conspiracy are they talking about? Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about Sunday morning show on Fox and Friends. We're going to take time right now on LevinTV to show it to you in full. And when I'm done, you got to watch. When I'm done, I'm going to address those who are attacking the very premise of everything I've explained. You ready? Here we go. Go.
We want to give you a case here this morning to lay out what you know about it, and the evidence you have for the potential executive overreach of the Obama administration.
Well, pleasure to be here. The evidence is overwhelming. This is not about President Trump's tweeting. This is about the Obama administration's spying. And the question isn't whether it's spied. We know they went to the FISA court twice. The question is, who did they spy on? The extent of the spying. That is, the Trump campaign, the Trump transition, Trump surrogates. And I want to walk you through this, the American people. Exhibit 1. Exhibit 1. This is all public. Head Street. 2 separate sources with links to the counterintelligence community have confirmed that the FBI sought and was granted a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court. This is spying. In October, giving counterintelligence permission to examine the activity of, quote, U.S. persons in Donald Trump's campaign with ties to Russia. Let me go on. This isn't me. They say the first FISA request, sources say, named Trump, was denied back in June, denied by the court. But the second was drawn more narrowly and was granted in October after evidence was presented of a server possibly related to the Trump campaign and its alleged links to 2 banks. Now, sources suggest that a FISA warrant was granted to look at the full content of emails and other related documents that may concern U.S. persons. Now, I know people are hung up with Trump's word wiretapping. Well, how'd they get access to this server information? Does it really matter if it was wiretapping, electronic surveillance, or whatever it was? So stop. So right there, I have not made a claim about the technology or techniques that were used, and I haven't made a claim of independent knowledge about the server. I'm even raising questions here. But this is a news report. Go ahead. Exhibit 2, The Guardian, a well-known right-wing British paper. Here it is, quote, The Guardian has learned the FBI applied for a warrant from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court over the summer in order to monitor 4 members of the Trump team suspected of irregular contacts with Russian officials. Keep in mind, this is during a presidential election. The sitting president, the incumbent party, is now investigating the presidential candidate of the Republican Party and his campaign to some extent. The FISA court turned down the application asking FBI counterintelligence investigators to narrow its focus. According to one report, the FBI was finally granted a warrant in October. Stop. Was The Guardian lying? Was The Guardian newspaper, a far-left newspaper in Britain, was The Guardian lying? There you go. Exhibit 3, McClatchy, another well-known right-wing newspaper. Here they have the agencies. Headline, FBI, 5 other agencies, 5 other Obama administration agencies probe possible covert Kremlin aid to Trump. The FBI and 5 other law enforcement intelligence agencies have collaborated for months in an investigation into Russian attempts to influence the November election. Stop. Was McClatchy lying? Were there 6 federal agencies, law enforcement and intel, investigating some aspect, some surrogates of the Trump campaign or the Trump transition? Were they lying? I didn't make it up. Go ahead.
Whether money from Kremlin covertly aided presidential-elect Donald Trump. Two people familiar with the matter said the agencies involved in the inquiry are the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the Justice Department, the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and representatives of the Director of the National Intelligence. Are you telling me Barack Obama didn't know what was going on in 6 agencies?
As you
hold
go
on,
how are
you?
Okay, keep going.
I'm not done. I need to make the case because the media seems to be confused about their own reporting. New York Times, another well-known liberal outlet, intercepted Russian communications, part of inquiry into Trump associates, January 19. The FBI is leading the investigations, aided by the NSA, the CIA.
I need to make a correction, ladies and gentlemen, from the opening of this show. That article that I'm reading from is essentially the same article where they had the headline on wiretapping. They changed their headline on January 19th from intercepts to wiretapped. The New York Times did. And now they accuse me of a conspiracy-led effort. Does anything I am reading to you from liberal establishment news outlets, for the most part, sound like I'm creating anything? I am giving you direct quotes from their own reports. Go ahead.
CIA, Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Unit, the investigators have accelerated their efforts in recent weeks, but have found no conclusive evidence of wrongdoing. Listen to this. One official said intelligence reports based on some of the wiretap communications have been provided to the White House.
Stop. That's the New York Times. Some wiretap communications. That's the New York Times, not me. Go.
Have been provided to the White House.
Stop. Provided to the White House. That's the New York Times, not me. The New York Times. Again, I'm not saying that they wiretapped Donald Trump's phones. I don't know what they did. But based on what the New York Times is reporting, and how dare they now accuse me of leading a radio-led conspiracy when I'm citing them, for God's sakes. Go ahead.
This is the New York Times,
another right-wing outlet.
4.
Another right-wing outlet,
Let's continue. New York Times again.
By the way, I want to thank Pete Hegseth there for allowing me to make the case and not constantly interrupting me, which most of these knuckleheads on cable do. Go ahead.
NSA gets more latitude to share intercepted communications. In the final days of the Obama administration, the administration has expanded the power of the NSA to share globally intercepted personal communications with the government's 16 other intelligence agencies before applying privacy protection.
Now notice the
why
media,
would they do this on the way out the door?
Notice the media won't get into that. The fact that the Obama administration on the way out the door loosened the protections so that NSA could distribute this material to 16 other departments and agencies without first dealing with privacy concerns. Notice that. Now, why would an administration do that? Why aren't the media, after the initial New York Times report, focused on that? Because they like the leaks. Because they want the information. They want it both ways. Both ways. They want to pretend that I am a conspiracy kook, reading their stuff and presenting it in a rational, logical fashion. So they want the leaks. On the other hand, they want to deny the accuracy of the leaks if they disagree with the outcome. So we have this unique situation today, ladies and gentlemen, as I speak to you. On the one hand, so concerned was the government, the law enforcement agencies, the intelligence agencies about Russia influencing our election. So concerned were they with ties from Trump and the Trump people with the Russians that they unleashed law enforcement, the CIA. It was so serious they got a FISA court application approved for a warrant. And then I pointed out and say, you know what, these are police state tactics. Hey, what are you, conspiracy nut? Hey, what are you trying to say? Hey, do you have proof of this? It's absolute insanity, is it not? Go ahead.
March 1, Exhibit 6. Obama administration rushed to preserve intelligence of Russian election hacking. In the Obama administration's last days, listen to this, some White House officials scrambled to spread information about Russian efforts to undermine the presidential election and about possible contacts between associates of President-elect Trump and Russians across the government.
Stop. That's the New York Times again. It's the New York Times. Are they running a conspiracy against a conspiracy? What are they doing over there? So now we know that they loosened the rules to distribute the information, and now the media today are ignoring all that. Now we know, if you believe the New York Times, the liberal, this is paper record for the left. All of a sudden, what New York Times? What are you talking about? What are you, conspiracy nut? Hey, can you prove? Can you prove? No, I can't prove anything. I'm basing it on what you're saying. Why don't you do some more reporting and find out what's going on? Go ahead.
Not done. Exhibit 7, New York Times. Flynn is said to have talked to Russians about sanctions Trump took office. Well, where'd they get this information? Well, Mark, you know, the FISA court, they're always monitoring the Russian ambassador and so. How do we know that? Maybe they are, maybe they're not, but there's an awful lot of other activity. Sure. Here we have Washington Post, one more, Washington Post, March 2nd. U.S. investigators have examined contacts Attorney General Sessions had with Russian officials during the time he was advising Donald Trump's campaign. The focus of the U.S. counterintelligence investigation has been on communication between Trump campaign officials and Russia. Listen to this. The inquiry involving Sessions is examining his contacts while serving as Trump's foreign policy advisor in the spring and summer of 2016.
Okay, so stop. So the question is this. How are they eavesdropping on him, right? That's from the New York Times. I didn't make that up. Sessions, going back to the spring of 2016, a United States senator, into the summer of 2016, then all of a sudden information comes up. Oh, he had a meeting. Oh my God, he had a meeting? Oh my God. Hey, we need a special prosecutor. Hey, he needs to resign. Hey, he lied to Congress. It's a little too cute, don't you think, ladies and gentlemen? So let's recap. Number one, I didn't divulge anything except what's in the public forum. Number two, these are all media outlets, many of which are the New York Times articles. Number three, I'm not claiming a conspiracy of any kind. I'm forthrightly saying that spying took place. The question is the extent of it, how it was authorized, what did the FISA application say, to what extent did the White House know about it? Now, I want to finish up this clip of our Fox friends just so you can see the end of it. Go ahead.
This has been going on for a year.
Well, Mark,
now,
as you do on your radio program, you lay out a devastating case based on public documents, as you point out, and not right-wing sources, but mainstream left-stream sources. How confident are you that this investigation, which was on so-called Russian hacking, but now the White House says this morning will be broadened to looking into executive overreach, how confident are you they will find something there?
I don't know, but they already found something. The issue isn't whether the Obama administration spied on the Trump campaign or transition or certain of its surrogates. The issue is the extent of it. They went into court a second time. They were so aggressive. They waited 4 or 5 months. They go back in October, weeks before the general election. They narrow their request. All of a sudden, we have leaks coming out on Flynn. Then we have a horrible meeting that took place between Sessions and so forth. And I'm telling you, as a former chief of staff to an attorney general of the United States in the Reagan administration, these are police state tactics. Now, what did Barack Obama know? He knew everything I just read to you apart from 1 or 2 articles. You know how I know? It's in the newspapers. It's right there. So Barack Obama not only knew this, but he gets a daily intelligence briefing. And let me tell you something about daily intelligence briefings. If your attorney general and your FBI is going to the FISA court to get a warrant to investigate aspects of an opposition party in the middle of a general election campaign, how much you want to bet the President of the United States knew that?
Mark Levin to Congress, investigate Obama's silent coup versus Trump. I believe there is an effort underway to take out Trump. Wow. You mean with these leaks, these felonies that are being committed one day after another? No, that can't be true, Mark. Oh, it's true. It's true. Go ahead.
Now, the story asserted that Obama has been trying to undermine Trump at every turn. As you can see from the headline, it was inspired by a Thursday night radio segment by conservative talk show host Mark Levin. Now, bear in mind, this was not fresh reporting by Levin or Breitbart. This was opinion. Attempts basically to
No, it's not opinion. Unless everything they report in the news is opinion, maybe it is. I went through, as I did for Fox, as I did for you just now, the news articles. I didn't get them out of editorials, the news articles. You know, like this one. Look at this. New York Times, January 20. Remember this one? Beginning of the show? Wiretap data used in inquiry of Trump aides.
The Times and other news outlets did not report that Obama personally ordered Trump's
All right,
phones
stop.
to be...
Now, see what they're doing? They've changed this from the whole thing is fallacious, and then realize, oops, we can't say that. We reported this stuff. Now they're saying, nobody said that Obama ordered a wiretap on Trump's phones. I never said that, by the way. So his tweet may be wrong. It may well be wrong. So be it. But that doesn't take away from the bigger issue, does it? But notice the media as the special pleaders for the left, as the special pleader for the Democrats, because that's what they are. They don't care about any of that. Now there's no fresh reporting. Well, I don't need to do fresh reporting. There's no reporting from you, you jerk. There's no fresh reporting. Okay, it's old reporting. Wow, it's January, it's February, it's March. Some of it's a little earlier. I'm just the guy that said, wait a minute. And we got this from this guy, we got this from this guy, lib media all over got this. What the hell? We got police state tactics. Hey, can you prove it? What is that, a conspiracy? You got new evidence? There's no fresh reporting? And can you show that Trump, I'm not showing that Trump anything. I'm laying out exactly what they've done, what they said. I've been asking Director Comey and others from the beginning of my administration to find the leakers in the intelligence community. This is a big deal, this leaking. It is a big deal because they're leaking intelligence that the President of the United States apparently doesn't even have. And then we have the headlines that follow, of course, the left-wing kook headlines. Let's take a look at some of those. The Washington Post. Trump revealed highly classified information to Russian diplomats. Salon, which is a really left-wing hack website. Trump, criminal or stupid. The New York Times, Trump revealed highly classified intelligence to Russia. In break with ally, officials say. Next. MSNBC, White House defends Trump after a leak bombshell. Washington Post, Trump revealed classified information in Russia meeting. Flashback, Trump blasted Clinton over classified information. Maddow, there's little precedent for Trump's reported leak to Russians. Next. Boston Globe, Trump aides try to limit fallout from report on classified info. You would think it's World War III. You would think we've been attacked. Huffington Post, Trump, so what if I did? Occupy Democrats. White House staffers are in full panic mode. Next. CNN. Trump defends absolute right to share with Russia. Latest crisis gives voice to a question whispered in D.C. Is Trump up to the job? Saliza, intelligence slip-up may be straw that breaks the camel's back. Psaki, yes, the hack that worked for Obama. Trump is destroying the trust of our allies. This is a phony scandal pushed by politicians in the media. What do they have? Why are they doing this? What is their interest here? For politicians, particularly the Democrats, to change the election cycle in hopes of winning the House and even winning the Senate when their numbers don't match up very well. For the media, their ratings are going through the roof. Do you know who the highest rated cable host is right now? Maddow, Rachel Maddow. She's awful. But the kooks and the loons and the leftists, they're very, very excited right now because they may topple, they hope, a constitutionally elected president. And of course, if they can't topple him, they want to topple his party. And in any event, they want to destroy his administration and attack his legitimacy. That's what's going on. It is a horrific coup. It's a coup. Are we going to allow this phony news media, which is populated with leftists and progressives, are we going to allow the minority party, which is furious that it lost the presidency in the House and the Senate, which is furious about the whole thing, which thinks it should always be able to control what goes on in the federal government, are we going to allow the Democrat Party and the media in this country to conduct what I've said before and I'll say again is a coup, a political coup, because that's what they're all about. I talked about the police state tactics of the Obama administration, and I laid out the case. And I was attacked for it. That's fine, I'm attacked all the time. But you're hearing more and more, aren't you? If you're watching Fox, if you're watching some conservative websites, if you're listening to conservative radio, all of a sudden, other people are picking up on this. You're also hearing the word Watergate. Now forget about Russia. Watergate applies to what the Obama administration did. Worse than Watergate. I'm telling you what I told you 3 months ago. This is the scandal of the century. This is the scandal of the century. The Democrats are in full obstruction mode. Where the hell were they in March? Mark, what are you talking about? Where were they in March? When I had information, pulled it together from the public accounts, and began to pull the string and to see that something didn't smell right, something didn't look right. And the media came down on me like a ton of bricks. I'm a tough guy, I can handle it. That's not my point. They wanted to shut it down, so they used ridicule, they used conspiracy theory arguments, they used right-wing stuff, all that stuff. And I had very little support in the conservative media, almost none. They were, oh, has he gone nutty over here? Is he done? No. So we kicked the door open. And now the door's open. And now people are looking. And they should look. And we need to get to the bottom of this. And if we don't get to the bottom of this, we're in a hell of a lot of trouble. There is no way that if you're going to seek and secure a FISA warrant, a probable cause that a member of Trump's team, volunteer, part-time, of no consequence. The fact is, a member of Trump's team is going to be surveilled by the United States government as an agent of Russia. That's probable cause. Agent. They need to be an agent of a foreign power. You cannot tell me that the President of the United States didn't know that. Moreover, as I said, that weekend and that March, we know the President knew some of this. How? It was in the newspapers. How? I read it to you.
As Rice confirmed to the House Intelligence Committee that a month earlier she unmasked Trump transition officials at a December 2016 Trump Tower meeting with the president's son-in-law Jared Kushner, former campaign strategist Steve Bannon, incoming National Security Advisor Michael...
So let's stop. So there's no more debate that the Obama administration was spying on Trump world. Got it? Kushner, Bannon, Flynn. They were spying on these people and leaking their names to the media. Clapper's a leaker. Comey's a leaker. McCabe's a leaker. This guy Strzok, the head of counterintelligence for the FBI in these investigations. According to his own texts, it appears he was a leaker. It appears the general counsel, his girlfriend, also the FBI, Page, was a leaker. The issue isn't who leaked. The issue is who didn't leak. We seem to forget that the administration that was in charge in the last election was the Obama administration. And rather than investigating the Russians, they were investigating the opposition candidate, Donald Trump. Barack Obama escapes all accountability, all of it. The Russian interference in our election, he was the president. He decided that everyone should stand down. Nothing. I do consider this the greatest political scandal, if not in all of history, in modern American history. It involves the perversion of our federal law enforcement. It involves the perversion of our intelligence agencies, domestic spying, felonious leaking, trying to influence the election. And I must say, ladies and gentlemen, I have never heard of a case in which the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office in any city would wiretap a president's personal lawyer. I suspect none of Clinton's personal lawyers were tapped. That is Hillary Clinton. I suspect none of Bill Clinton's personal lawyers were tapped when the investigation took place in Whitewater and related cases. I have no information that during Watergate that any of President Nixon's lawyers were surveilled, private lawyers, that is. So this is enormously troubling to me.
So their argument is pretty clear, which is it's not about me, it's about we. They're spying on me. They could spy on anybody. This is dirty tricks. This is deep state. This is the surveillance that he feels happened in his Trump Tower, even though we don't have any proof of it. It's how they look at the FISA warrants.
You know, I love this stuff when they say we don't have any proof of it. It reminds me of March 2017 in my own case, where I talked and said that they obviously had a FISA warrant. You don't have any direct proof. You don't have any direct proof. Well, no, I don't have any direct proof. But it's you look at these media accounts because the FBI and the CIA officials and others involved in these rogue activities weren't leaking to me. They were leaking to media outlets, and I just picked it up. See the date in the upper left-hand corner? New York Times via Reuters, December 16, 2016. In the future, the guy's gone in a month or so. He did nothing effective to stop the Russians, and that is the point. And he's the one in his administration that should be under investigation. Have you ever recalled a time in modern American history or the history of the FBI when the entire senior leadership has been wiped out? I was thinking about this the other day. The director of the FBI was fired by the president. He's a leaker, and he's a liar. The deputy director of the FBI, McCabe, is under criminal investigation for leaking and lying. Peter Strzok was in charge of counterintelligence investigations. He was just fired yesterday by the FBI for leaking, lying, and texting what he texted, and we don't need to go through that again. And others have been forced out. The senior level of the FBI. That's pretty damn amazing, is it not? That tells you had, under that senior leadership, a rogue agency. They tried to take out Trump even before he was elected. We now know that with all the tawdry, incredible, outrageous activity that took place at the senior levels of the FBI, senior levels of our intelligence agencies, putting a spy in the opposition's campaign, unmasking individuals in that campaign, including General Flynn, all the tawdry activity that took place. It's about time we, the people, step into this. And we can step into this come November. We can get involved in this come November. We can come between the President of the United States and those who are promoting this coup d'etat, this silent coup. It is up to us to take this country back, and it's up to us to safeguard the vote that we cast in the last election. Something remarkable happened. The former deputy director of the FBI, Andrew McCabe, confessed to helping lead a coup d'etat against the President of the United States. A man like this, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, would be in handcuffs. That's where he'd be. This is no small matter. This is a tremendous scandal. And when the historians write their history books, they're going to view it as one of the great scandals in American history. As the report states, quote, the investigation did not establish that members of the Trump campaign conspired or coordinated with the Russian government in its election interference activities. Now, before we move on, it was a completely bogus allegation, completely bogus dossier, completely bogus. Mr. McCabe, with his coup, they sent at least two informants, spies, into the Trump campaign. They tried to set up the Trump campaign. They tried to set up people in the outer areas of the Trump campaign, and they failed. All the texts about Trump being involved in the campaign, all the media, I'll get to that in a second, about collusion, breaking news, alerts, blockbusters, bombshells, lie after lie after lie. Now you see the battle ahead, ladies and gentlemen. The foundation has been laid. They've been exposed. There's no excuse for not engaging with people who seek to destroy this country. And you listen to these Democrat candidates, and they seek to destroy our constitutional system in multiple ways, and our economic system in multiple ways, and our culture in multiple ways. That's what we're up against. This president has stood between them in order to protect us. He's the general on the battlefield, and we need to be the infantry. Of course, I'm speaking politically. The battle has to be engaged. And here's the thing. If we don't do this, nobody else will. If we don't do this, our children and our grandchildren will be subjected to this. We're going to have to really work on the press, freedom of the press. We're going to have to be the ones that demand that they actually tell us the truth for once and hold their feet to the fire. How do we do this? By making choices. It's that simple. By buying products or not. It's that simple. I'm not organizing a boycott. You do whatever you think you need to do in order to decide who should be out there claiming to be journalists and who shouldn't. You have a political party in the Democrat Party, which in my view has become not just an adversary to our system, but in many ways an enemy to our system. You can hear them right now, the way they're talking, their various committee chairmen. And it's interesting to me that Barack Obama has never been held to account for anything. That was his FBI, his intelligence agencies, his Department of Justice that did all this nasty stuff to the American people and to the President of the United States. It needs to be cleaned up. So that's our movement forward. Have a good evening.